Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We have none other than Mike Washington. Big Mike is in the building. Is this? Am I seeing this correctly, Charles Wilson? Do you see what I see? Is this my imagination?
The prodigal son has returned.
The prodigal son has returned. Yeah, I heard you on them beaches. You need that sunglasses. This is Dr. Bill. Welcome to Dr. Bill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, along with Wilton Jackson II. Welcome to episode 531 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. In short, we just call it HBCU sports pedagogy. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and along guesting along Wilton Jackson II. We're going to give you an update of what's going on in the HBCU sports culture, because things are about to get hot and heavy. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KCWH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, in the beautiful home at Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that being said, before I get the appropriate welcomes and get everybody there, I just want you to know that we're working on giving you a little bit more of the lab. Obviously, you know, in this part of the year, we do our traditional Tuesday and Thursday, as well as Sunday morning. We're looking at giving you a little more during the week. We'll see what that looks like. Stick with us. You might see a little more of Wilton Jackson II. I'm trying to work on his schedule. He's a busy man. He certainly negotiates a high rate, so that's a challenge. I don't know why he's trying to get paid more than you, Charles. And Mike. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that. My fault. That's not how you negotiate. No. Let me let y'all introduce yourself.
Now, why is he putting your business out there like that?
Hey. He trying to make me look bad.
And he talks you out there.
I'm telling you, man, putting your business out there, hanging it out like wet clothing.
I'm just like the governors of these NBA franchises. You know how we find something to sneak out there? I decided to do it myself instead of leaving it to Charles to say.
I like that.
Charles, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Doc. I tell you what, it's hot out there. You need pickle juice for the reporters too. I mean, you start showing up in some of these camps. Woo! It is mean out there. This Texas heat is no joke.
You are so appropriate with that. Big Mike, how it is? It's serious to get you back in the house, man. We missed you, man. It's one of the first time in a while that we can get you on one of these media blocks. Usually able to sneak in and do your media thing and then sneak out. You couldn't even do this. Your schedule was so busy this year.
Man, it's all good. Been on the road, and when I say on the road, I'm literally on the road, out the country for a minute. So good to be back in the U.S. of A. Good to be back on the show. When we got to talk about this salary thing, though, since Milt bringing his up.
I'm not gonna say it too loud, but this person that's the executive director of the MEAC Challenge Celebration Board, I think his name is John Grant. He said you need to be fired. You don't have time for the show no more. I said, I don't know if that was Oh, I think that was a private conversation. My fault. Sorry about it, John. Wilton, It's just going off today. It's one of those days. How you doing, Wilt?
Since you came back last week, I mean, I have to be careful. Like me and Charles was saying last week, we got to duck and dodge because we don't know what you find out the gun. We don't know. We don't know. But everything is good on my end. Trying to stay cool. You know, it's that time of the year. It's early August. It's hot outside in Mississippi. So, but that also means it's almost football. So, I mean, can't be more excited than that.
No doubt about it. Today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting, data analytics. With that being said, we're going to start it off. Unfortunately, we have to talk about SWAC and the MEAC mourn the loss of student athletes. It's obviously challenged as we did last week when we mourn, elders that become ancestors, particularly legends. But it's something really, it seems overly tragic when we have young individuals, particularly college athlete, somebody that seems lifeful and vigorous that's playing the sports. And when we lose them to become ancestors, it's even tougher. The Southern University athletic community is mourning the death of cross-country and track and field student athlete Tommy Thomas Jr. Thomas was home for the summer, was returning for his sophomore season on a cross-country and track and field team, passed away earlier today. Thomas was from Lafayette, Louisiana, and prepped at Northside High School. He majored in therapeutic recreation and leisure studies while at Southern. Obviously, the director of athletics, Roman Banks, quoted as saying, "Our Southern University athletic family is devastated over the sudden death of Tommy Thomas Jr." MEAC joins North Carolina Central family in mourning a fellow Eagle, Terrence Howard, who passed away on Thursday, August the 1st. Howard was recruited to play at the University of Alabama by then head coach Nick Saban, transferred to North Carolina Central following the 2023 football season after securing a full scholarship to play for the Eagles. Howard, who was moving to Raleigh-Durham Triangle, was struck by a passing vehicle after being involved in a minor traffic accident, and that was on Interstate I-85 on Monday, July 29th. 19-year-old Houston, Texas native passed away several days later after being admitted to a Charlotte, North Carolina hospital for critical injury. So let's take a moment of silence and make sure that we honor both HBCU athletes in terms of their untimely passing. With that being said, I do want to give a little bit of that. I'm a soccer head. Olympics is around. We have connected with some of Nigeria's, the women's basketball team, as they made it into the elimination round. Fellow former player Savannah State was on their team, but little soccer. See, on the men's side, you have a France versus Spain matchup, but we get a chance to do this for the fall. And when you talk about the predicted order of finish, you have Valley at 10th. Remember, FAMU and Bethune-Cookman do not play women's soccer program, or at least at this time. So you have Valley at 10, Auburn State at 9, Arkansas Pine Bluff at 8, Alabama A&M at 7. You have Prairie A&M at 6, Texas Southern at 5th, Alabama State at 4th, Southern at 3rd, Jackson State at 2nd. And Grambling was selected to finish 1st to get it done on the soccer side. Obviously, you had Grambling State with 164 points at the top, 10 votes. Jackson was 2nd, but they only got 4 votes. And you had Southern that received some votes as well, which were equal to Jackson with 4. Separated a lot in terms of point differential, 161-31, as you talk about what's going on there. We'll get into some preseason awards. But I wanted to acknowledge soccer because, that's one of my big-time pastime sports. I don't get to talk about it. Charles does a little golf. Mike sneaks up with the baseball, and he's even crossed over in lacrosse. Wilton, what Olympic-type sport are you into? I hadn't even got a chance to test you on that yet.
Really, probably track and field. Track and field will probably be my thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like to
Good
run.
time to be a track and field fan. Saw that photo finished the other day, and everybody.
Exactly.
And Charles shaking his hands. He trying to act like he got better eyes than the camera. That ain't what he saw. I gave him a little sneak picture.
He got it by a chest hair.
Yeah, by a chest hair, exactly.
Literally.
By a chest hair.
It certainly was by a chest hair. We'll get the chance maybe to acknowledge some of these players a little later on into that as we get into the season in terms of preseason, but we're up against the clock. So I want to turn the page, get into it. I want to make sure these folks get a full chance to really break down when I get into these poll rankings. So we're going to go to our first break, come back on the other side. We'll bring in another star, one of the biggest switch hitters out there in terms of getting up there, pitch hitters. We're going to bring him in the fold in our second segment. We're going to break down the next 7, Charles. We're going to get into 14 through 8. This is the second subgroup. And so this is where we get interesting. Many people are going to be intrigued about this because many folks knew who were going to be those first 21. There might have been one or two that you questioned. Wilton kind of threw me up there, and I couldn't understand why you Jackson fans were all up in the edge about a Southern program. But that I won't say too much about that, Mike. These folks here, I'm like, who got left out? They were biting their tongue. Yeah. They were ready. Southern is. Yeah. I said, man, Southern first year coach program. Man, they be lucky if they can sweat.
Exactly.
But we're gonna get into the next group. But this is the group that fall out of that first 7. So I'm fascinating to see in terms of this sandwich group. These are some folks that either can fall hard and fall into the bottom third, if you would, or can have a uptick and find a way in that top, that first third, I should say. With that, we'll be right back on the other side. Major division. We're going with 14 through 8, I should say. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Hey, grab me one too.
This is Ryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app. As we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Choice Hotels is a family of brands that helps you get the most for your money so you can be any traveler you want to be.
You could be a free hot breakfast hero at a comfort hotel.
Yes!
That's how you waffle.
Mister, this script got a plot twist at a Radisson hotel.
A business big leaguer.
Go for key.
Even the ultimate pool float inflator.
With 22 brands and the best value for your money, Choice Hotels has a stay for any you. Book direct at choicehotels.com, where travels come true. Gotta get the corners.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Wilton Jackson II, and A.D. Drew. Yeah, we have a battery of individuals that I wanted to see as we got into this second quadrant, if you would, of the rankings in terms of 14 through 8. We're going to take the first 4 and get through it like this in terms of what that looks like. Charles, your throat is scratchy or something? You excited about this? You got some questions? At number 14.
Yeah.
Yes, this is Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, 3-8, 2-6. In 2023, they led by Raymond Woody, the junior head coach. He's in his second year, obviously coming back to his alma mater. And he's done a lot of recruiting in terms of hitting the recruiting trail this past season. So some people are excited, but not so much in terms of those head.
It looks like we got Doc frozen.
Hello.
Yeah.
Charles, you want to take over?
Yeah. I mean, when we take a look at this next group here, especially taking a look at, I think Doc started off here with Bethune-Cookman, and we'll just run it around the course here. We'll start off with you, AD. Doc has Bethune-Cookman sitting here at that number 14 spot. What do you see from the Wildcats this upcoming season?
I see a scary team.
Yeah, a lot of people had got them back. We have a 5th in terms of where they are.
Doc, we lost you. Doc, we lost you as you were talking about Bethune-Cookman. Yeah.
Okay.
Froze up on Bethune-Cookman.
In there. Bethune-Cookman. Yep. 3-8, 2-6. Appreciate that. 105 points. Sitting at number 14. That second group to start things off. That is Raymond Woody Jr. A lot of people said he hit the trail, was doing a lot of recruiting this year. He's picked 5th in the East in terms of what everybody said over the last couple of years is the toughest division. We'll see what that looks like as we get forward. Moving forward at number 13, we have Norfolk State Spartans. As you know, they're coached by Dawson Odoms as he is getting into his 4th year in terms of what he's getting done there. He was 3-8, 1-4 last season, and 16 points. A lot of folks think he should be taking his next move. He has a big game in the MEAC SWAC, starting things off early against FAMU, the reigning champions, so he can make a major statement. Number 1 pick in terms of what that looks like with 50 points. It'll be interesting. He did get 1 first place vote in this predicted order of finish in terms of what's going on there. So I'm fascinated to see what should take place there. Then we have Grambling State Tigers. A lot of folks get excited about the Grambling Tigers. They got a new coach, Mickey Joseph, in his first year. They were 5-6 and 4-4 last year, which led to dismissal of the coach. It'll be interesting to see what Grambling State is going to do in terms of where they are predicted to finish this year by those SIDs and head coaches. They're coming out of the West. They have them picked 3rd. A lot of people feel something about this Grambling State Tigers. 72 points, 4 first place votes. Some people thought really big about them being able to take a huge step. Quarterback coming back, but I'm hearing down there that they might have a different quarterback taking over the reins, but it is what it is. Getting to number 11. At number 11, you have Eddie George. Eddie George can he take that next step coming in 2021? So he's entering into his 4th season. Had a winning record last year, 6-5, 2-4, 23 in 2023, 123 points as we look and climbing up. With that, we'll take these first 4 and get into it and see what it looks like. Let me start with you, Charles, since you riled up your face a little bit there. I'm going to go with you and see what you have to say in terms of this next group. What do you think about 14 through 11 at this point?
Let me start with the caveat right here. And this is probably a caveat that goes from 14 on in. But this group here with consistent quarterback play can vault themselves into the next group. When you take a look at Bethune-Cookman, and I think everybody's talked about Bethune-Cookman.
Are you saying that because you think they're going to be pretty solid on defense?
Well,
or you think that if they get that quarterback, they'll be that good on offense?
I think they have some pieces on offense, especially when you start taking a look at a lot of the transfers, FBS transfers that they brought in. I think Bethune-Cookman brought in 12 to 13 FBS transfers. So that was a big thing on upgrading the talent there. And that was a confident group walking around Swag Media Day. I can envision, where they would double their win output from last year. But what I think is very interesting, they get Alabama State at home. They get Jackson State at home, and they get Grambling at home. So those are some interesting games that I'm going to keep an eye out with regards to Bethune-Cookman. Taking a look at Norfolk State, they bring back the most starters in the MEAC. When you take a look at Otto Coons, and what jumped out at me, MEAC Media Day, they got 13 guys, either first or second team, all MEAC. So that's something that really jumps out. They're bringing back a lot of experience, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Tennessee State, Draylon Ellis, he's in his third year in this program here at Tennessee State. That's going to be huge with regards to consistency. They got a new offensive coordinator coming in. What concerns me about Tennessee State, we've come to know them over the past few seasons as being a defensive ball club. They're replacing 9 starters on the defensive side on the ball, but they really look good from a skill position standpoint on the offensive side of the ball. 3 returning starters with regards to the wide receiving core, 2 running backs, one that's an all-conference running back coming back. So, and Draylon Ellis, I think that's the big key for Tennessee State coming into the season. And then, the Braves. Tyler Mayfield.
We ain't got that far yet.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I cut it off. Where we at?
Grambling.
No, you good when you went to 11th Tennessee State. Charles get excited. He gonna get into next 10.
You're right.
That's all right. I'm gonna give him a break this week. He's so fired up.
I cut
See
it off
what Wilton, what he did learn last week. I like what Charles learned. He snuck in and talked a little bit about that schedule about a couple of teams, right?
He did.
Yeah, he went back and see. That's my favorite pet peeve. A lot of folks, when they get into their analysis, most people do a really good job of looking what the team is made of. Quarterback coming back, defense, offense. A lot of folks figure into that. What does the coach looking back, his experience, what he's been able to do. But a lot of folks forget about the schedule. But I like that, Charles. You learned a really good lesson there. Good job. Good job.
Oh, yeah.
With that being said, let me go to you, Mike, with your little finger on your face there. Go ahead and tell me, what do you think about 14 through 11?
Well, Bethune, I don't see them climbing out the basement. Let's look at the last 2 years. They scored 18 points a game, allowed their opponents 26. That's double. That's a data point. Ding ding. The other data point is who's going to be the quarterback. I don't care how many transfers, new people they got. So yeah, they're right, and you could argue that they could be down a little further. Norfolk State, they were 4th place 2023, 2022. They were 1-4. I mean, there's consistency lying there. All right, they were last in defense. Grambling State. We always start the year saying, well, what's Grambling going to do? Can Grambling get – everybody wants to drink the Grambling Kool-Aid, but really Grambling has dropped some huge games. Can they, with a somewhat newer coach, can they win the big games? I don't know. I don't think so. So, yeah, I think this is appropriate. And Tennessee State, we talk about Tennessee State. We got excited about Tennessee State. Remember, they started out in 2023 really good. What happens? Where did they end up? Think about it. Let's wait. Where did they end up in the OVC? 8th, 9th? Can they even climb out of the OVC in at least the top 4 or 5 by the end of the season? I don't know. This is Eddie's 3rd year, 4th year. He's had a full recruiting cycle, so I don't see them actually climbing out of the bottom 5.
Did Mike just come in here off the beach and start beating the Fiesta? All 4 of these teams should be in the bottom 7. Did I hear that correctly? Wilton, Am I losing it? What are your thoughts in terms of these 4? Because I think Mike is just like, no, none of these folks should be here. I'd hate to ask him which 4 teams in the bottom 7 gonna replace him with, but I'm not even sure we have time for that. But we're gonna see if we can get in that as well. But Wilton, before we do that, what are your thoughts on 14 through 11?
So I'm gonna somewhat slightly disagree with Mike on the Bethune-Cookman. I will say this: I don't think they doubled their wins completely. Meaning, like, I would not say today on August 6th that Bethune-Cookman will get 6 wins. I do think they could potentially get 5. And I think that Charles pointed out something really key.
So he got over and under 5.5. I'm gonna make you pick.
I'm gonna stick at 5. I'm going under. I am not giving them more than 5 wins today. I am not, but I will give them 5 today. But looking at this, I'm giving them 4.5 then.
I'll give 4.5.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say this. Their schedule is it's interesting. They especially a couple games. They have Alabama A&M at Alabama A&M at Mississippi Valley, but really those critical games of like Jackson State, Grambling, those are definitely 2 games I'm gonna watch on their schedule for Bethune-Cookman.
And they gave Jackson State hell last year.
They did, and that's one reason. That's something I didn't forget, and so that's why I said like I would
truly at home, not in Jackson.
Yeah. Right. So I wouldn't necessarily sleep on Bethune-Cookman like that. Now, Norfolk State, I am gonna go off what Mike said. I mean, I know they got a lot of returners coming back. I know that they have all the critical players and returners, but I'm not buying it. Not today. I got them pretty much where they are. Honestly, I probably would have put them behind Bethune-Cookman. That's just how I feel about it. Now,
ding 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 ding. Data point.
It's to make or break year.
You don't believe in Dawson Odom.
That's a make or break year for Dawson Odom. Data point. Ding ding ding.
Very much
just broke it.
Yeah. Ding.
It is a make or break year.
So
you good with Grambling and Tennessee State?
Yeah, I am. I think that where they are right now, I won't be drinking the Grambling
Kool-Aid. Love a brand, boy. It's something about a brand name to Wilton and Charles.
Just hear me out though. With Grambling, I'm not drinking the Grambling Kool-Aid right now. I have in the past, but I'm not drinking it right now. But I do think that Mickey Joseph is gonna bring something to that program that we necessarily haven't seen in a couple of years. So again, I'm not saying they're gonna win this way west.
I feel good about Mickey. I think he's gonna push them forward. I agree with that.
I do.
I subscribe to,
but he better do it pretty fast because you know how them Grambling heads are. If you're not a Grambling person, you can't do it fast enough. They'll start turning on you real fast. You think it's ugly as Southern or Jackson. Damn you to Grambling eat their own for real, particularly if you're not their own. Let me go to AD Drew. Good talk, man. Great discussion. AD Drew, where are you with these first 4 in this second group?
I'm going to try to make mine quick but brief. For the first time in about 5 years, there's no dysfunction going on at the beach. Bethune-Cookman, solid recruiting class by their head coach. Last year, dysfunction. Year before that, dysfunction. Year before that, dysfunction. Year before that, COVID. So first year, Bethune is on solid ground coming into a season. I expect some improvement from Bethune. I don't know if they're going to get to the top 10, but I'm like, they will get more than 3 wins. They will get more than 4 wins. Let's take these next 2 quickly. Both these teams have their conference first-team quarterbacks on them, and they're outside the top 10. Where have you ever seen that at?
Yep.
And here's the crazy thing. We don't know if these 2 first-team quarterbacks are actually going to be the ones under center on game 1.
Yep. Bingo.
So I'm discounting those 2. Eddie George. You
great analysis.
You and Dawson
talking about actually listening to these coaches that are telling you that they hadn't selected their first quarterback. I got so many people talking about, man, quarterback this and that. I was like, man, how much money you want to put on whether these coaches quarterbacks going to be starting at the game too? You got quiet.
Get quiet. And Eddie George, you and Dawson Odoms are roommates in the Do or Die suite. So, I think these are do or die years for both of those coaches. So not only does Dawson Odom not know who his quarterback is, but he's saying that the do or die is. So go ahead.
You think Eddie
as
George?
We take a break and come back after this, we might have two more coaches in there do or die. Go ahead,
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this quickly. Who's gonna start screaming faster? Grambling fans or Southern fans if they coach have a bad year? And Eddie George, you may be good at bringing in that money, but sooner or later, people gonna want some more W's.
Yeah,
6-5 is not going to cut it, especially in the OVC. And yes, their schedule prevents them from ever getting more than 7 wins.
Who's the first fan base on the ledge? Alabama A&M.
Oh, well, they in the class by themselves.
Put them in
that's why I said they might. I might have two.
Let them lose Magic City. Let them lose Magic City again.
Magic City would be a tough one to lose. Can he make it to Magic City? I'm talking about game 6, 5, 6 in terms of how you're looking in terms of those fans getting on the ledge, because it's not over. A game 6, you just right there. You can have a close of the season that will flip everything around. But in terms of your point, I'm interested in that Grambling and Southern in terms after the first 6 games, who will be screaming the loudest. Well, both of them be feeling pretty good. It'll be interesting to see what that looks like. With that being said, let's take our next break and get into the final 3 of this second group and see what you think about this. I will say this. Charles kind of put a little bit out there, but it's going to continue to be a lot of SWAC schools in this next 3. So we'll see what that looks like. Stick with us after we take this next break. We'll be right back on the other side.
Atlanta, Georgia. The HBCU football capital hosts the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge on August 24th. Florida A&M Rattlers, Norfolk State Spartans. SWAC versus MEAC. The rivalry is real. Come out to Center Park Stadium to see the returning HBCU national champions and 2 of the best HBCU bands in the land, the Marching 100 and the Spartan Legion. The day starts with a kickoff fan experience tailgate and concludes with a primetime matchup on ABC. For more information, visit MEACSWACChallenge.com.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cavil.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messages quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab, looking at some of these comments between the two as we on YouTube, my JBN, as well as our other social media platforms, and now also checking on Facebook. Man, SIAC talk by 8 V2 HBCU football says Savannah State is going to clip Southern. Woo, yeah. He said they will be on the list real quick if that happened. But yeah, Wilton even scratching his head.
Or Kendrick,
That'd
if they
be
pull that
ugly.
one off. Wait,
That'd be ugly.
here's the question,
Ugly.
Dr.
And
Cavil.
then on
Which
Facebook
SIAC
side,
team
shout
is
out.
more likely to get I was going to
Go
say,
ahead,
which
go ahead.
SIAC team is more likely to get the W? Savannah State or Tuskegee? Tuskegee Grambling or Savannah State Southern?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's the two in terms of whoever. I know if both of them don't win, you're right. There'll be some folks going to the ledge. Do they play? Grambling is the second weekend, and Savannah's the first weekend?
Yes, second weekend.
Yeah.
I'll have to keep our eyes on those two. Great point, AD Drew. Shout out to Edwin D. Moore. He said, y'all not agreeing with me. I said, well, that's, I don't know what's up. They taking the wrong Kool-Aid drink, I guess it is. But let's look at these next three, 10 through 8. Finish out this second 7 group. It's going to be fascinating. Charles let it out the box a little bit, but he's right on it. It's number 10, Alcorn State with Cedric Thomas as he's getting it done. They were picked out of the West, number 1. Cedric Thomas kind of had that look on his face, like, I don't want that smoke right now, not yet. 11 first place votes, 112 points coming out of the West. Been a different representative of the West the last couple of years, especially since expansion. So it'll be interesting to see, will that continue to be the case in terms of what that looks like. With that being said, the Braves were 7-4 last year, 6-2. 127 points. They tied at the top of the West with Prairie View, but Prairie View went on the road and had a 50-yard field goal at the end of the game that ultimately was the difference in terms of the tiebreaker, with both teams finishing at 6-2 coming out of division. So it's fascinating to see what that looks like. A couple of other big, tough losses, including one that we watched and witnessed right here in Houston at Texas Southern University against Alcorn State. That really put it in play for that final big victory by Prairie View over Alabama State, which many people didn't think they could get. So it's fascinating to see what that looks like. But we're turning the page and moving to 2024. With that being said, I have Alabama A&M, and folks want to put this man's chair on the fire. I think he's going to be all right. At number 9, I have him in the middle, Connell Maynard. I think he's too talented to stay down for that.
And I think we lost Doc.
Understand that 139 points, as I know, is flooding a little bit, but we're jumping back in there. So that's Alabama A&M, the Bulldogs with Connell Maynard, as he is the oldest coach in the SWAC in terms of his tenure. 139 points. Will he even get to Magic City before he starts showing that this team is going to make a statement and make it interesting for the Magic City? Charles doesn't look like he's convinced. I think he's going to be all right. Then we have at number 8, Prairie View A&M University right there, just outside of the top 7. I know this will make a lot of people mad, but Prairie View A&M, Coach Bubba, people just refuse to believe in Coach Bubba. But Bubba says just watch. Bubba McDowell coming into 3rd season here. Been in the hunt the last 2 years. He finished at 6-6 overall. 6-2, 2023, 144 points. One of the things that I think is fascinating with them being picked second with 104 points in the SWAC West, finishing 8th. Nice thing about Prairie View, if you're looking at those schedules, they have the juggernauts in the West, one of the top teams in the East with FAMU, but those games at home. They have Texas Southern, their rival, at home. They have Southern on campus at home.
At home.
They have FAMU at home.
At home.
They have Alcorn State. Braves, a lot of said they're at home. They do have that Dallas State Classic neutral site in Grambling. So if this is a year that Prairie View continues to bring the talent, if they can find a way to get it done at home, it'd be interesting to see what that looks like in terms of those statements there. That finishes out the top 7. Number 14, Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. At number 13, Norfolk State Spartans. At number 12, Grambling State Tigers. At number 11, Tennessee State Tigers. Coming out of the top-ranked independent program of HBCUs at the major division level. At number 10, Alcorn State Braves at number 9, Alabama A&M Bulldogs at number 8, Prairie View A&M Panthers. So by deductive reason, you know the top 7. You'll see where they are picked next week, but we'll give you the official selection of where the top 7 is. But you can deduct and find out who the top 7 is. But before we get ahead of ourselves, I'm gonna go to Wilton. I want to know what you think of these next 3 in this second segment of our 7 teams in the iteration of preseason ranking in 2024.
So looking at these 3, maybe I'm a little biased. I'm not fully confident in Connor Maynard at A&M. I know he's the most tenured coach. I'm just not fully satisfied in knowing that they get the job done. However, their schedule
you're not the only one. I don't think anybody believes in Maynard right now, except for Dr. Cavil.
Yeah, I mean, but I will say this though, their schedule isn't terrible. I mean, of course they got Alabama. I mean, they have Auburn first, but I mean that's a lot. But they got Kentucky State, Georgetown College, Kentucky, and then they have Austin, PA, and then they have FAMU, Austin, PA, and FAMU on the road. But then they have Jackson State, Bethune-Cookman, Alabama State, and Southern at home.
Ooh.
So if that's any indication of what they might need to do to make their season, they have the home field advantage there.
Well, in the Jackson State game in Mobile?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's neutral.
Okay.
Yeah. But the other games will be
Alabama State is in Birmingham, Magic City. But to your point, they got FAMU, probably one of the tougher games. They certainly have that at home. And even in Mobile, while Jackson State will have their contingents and they'll be bringing it there. If they're getting off the season, they'll bring a significant. But Bulldogs will be at home and they're familiar playing there. So it'll be fascinating to see what that looks like. I like that point. What are your thoughts in terms of the Braves and the Panthers?
So with Alcorn and Coach Thomas, he's coming into this program, not a stranger to the SWAC. I don't know. When they were picked first to win the SWAC West, I was a little shocked, a little surprised. I'm thinking like, Prev, you probably had something to say about this, which they should. Again, looking at this,
I love it. I thought it was perfect.
They have a brutal schedule. They start off with UAB and Vanderbilt, and then they have Edward Waters. I mean, and in previous years they've had some run-ins, some interesting run-ins with McNeese, and then Mississippi Valley, of course. But then they get UAB, but then they got Grambling and Southern on the road. So I think right there, Grambling Southern, Alabama State, Texas Southern, at Prairie View, Jackson State, that latter part of their schedule is we're gonna find out a lot about Alcorn.
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah. And with Prairie View, you kind of hit the nail on the coffin in terms of saying like what their schedule looks like. They start off with Texas Southern, but like you said, they also have Southern and Grambling, home there. So like I'm okay with the last 2, and where they are.
80 Drew, where do you come into the mix?
Alabama A&M has a bye after week 4. If Alabama A&M is at 500 or below going into that bye, the Rottweilers will start chasing the Bulldogs. Alcorn does have a tough schedule, but their peers think that they're the number 1 team in the West.
True.
But we in the media have them at 10. Did I put them number 1 in the West? No. Did I think they're? Let's see. That means you've got 2 other. Let's see. We see Prairie View. That means there are 2 other SWAC West teams ahead of them. If I'm doing my deductive reasoning, Dr. Cavil, based on our polling.
Good point.
I'm just sometimes the math ain't mathing on that one. And speaking of the rest of the poll. Of the top 10, we know who the 7 who are left are. We see number 8, 9, and 10. Honestly, I think any of those 9 outside of Alabama A&M, with the right things happening, good quarterback play, a lot of these teams already have solid defense. They don't get hit by the injury bug. Any of those other 9 could wind up winning the Celebration Bowl. Honestly speaking.
Wow, that's a statement. Nice one. Good job, Drew. way to step out there. Big Mike, where are you in terms of these next 3 in this second 7 group of major division programs?
I'm okay. I'm okay. I think Alcorn State should be ahead of Alabama A&M. Don't have for the comments. I'm not a Connell Manor fan. I don't care how many games they have home. I don't care what the bye is. I don't care what the schedule is. What is Alabama? I don't care. What are the Bulldogs going to do? What have they shown in the last 2, couple of years? The question is, who's in the first 7? I see some other West teams. Is Morgan State in the top? I haven't seen. Maybe I wasn't here last week, but I want to know who's in the top 7.
Yeah, Morgan State would.
Oh, I love Mike. Mike giving a great tease, baby. Way to go, Mike. Come back off the.
If those other 2 West teams and Morgan State are in there, something is wrong with this program. Who was predicted? Who was predicted in the year our Lord 2023 to come in the West? It was Alcorn State, right? Where did they finish? Who was predicted in 2022? It was Southern, then Alcorn State. Who ended up at the top? Prairie View A&M. So us as these prognosticators need to take a look at how we're picking these teams. But you got to develop some confidence in Bubba, because he's shown you that he can put a formidable team on there. But I want to see who's in that first 7.
Okay.
Because if it's 2 other
Well,
West
I can
teams,
tell you this, Mike. It's not a West team in the top 7. Southern was in the bottom 7. And Pine Bluff was in the bottom 7. So who the MEAC? So hey, you have to wait till next week. I'm just telling you, it's not a team in the West. I don't want
to blow the discussion up, but I would switch Alabama A&M and Alcorn. I think Alcorn, their schedule, I would give them a slight edge with just based on schedule, who they play at home, when they play them during the season, mid-season, early season. That tends to be a lot more favorable. But that's all numbers and statistics. So I'm okay with the top 3. Just switch those 2.
Charles, save your boy with all these data points, man. He mad because ain't nobody in the West in the top 7.
It's always the West bias, huh? I think it's very interesting, Doc, especially looking at Alcorn. I think, like you, Wilson, that was for me the head scratcher. With them being picked to finish first. And when you take a look at Alcorn, and I kind of had to go back and take a look at it because the tailwind was behind Alcorn coming into the season. They won 6 out of the last 7, but they had that huge face plant against Texas Southern. That sticks out to me. And when you take a look some more at the data points, as Mike likes to put out, since 2021, Alcorn 9-10 on the road. I think that's huge when you take a look at, they are below 500 on the road, and you take a look at the teams that they have to take on the road this season, Grambling, Prairie View, and Southern. It makes it difficult for me to have a little bit more faith in breaking in a new quarterback, essentially, and a new head coach. So that one's going to be tough, I think, for Alcorn to rise up to number 1 as they have been predicted. Let's be honest about Alabama A&M. They have not been the same program since Scootergate. When you stop and just the air went out the balloon.
Talk about Scootergate?
Yeah, the air went out.
Blamed it all on Scootergate.
Yeah, I mean,
man,
I thought he would have came with a Quill Glass. At least he went to the scooter.
Y'all gonna get enough of putting Alabama A&M up there. They ain't had a hit since Dionne Warwick back in Solid Gold. So
it's been a tough go. I mean,
Doc had to put Alabama A&M to keep the house in peace. That's what that really is, y'all. That's why I had Alabama A&M in that top 10.
And then,
hey, Charles, you mentioned.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say you mentioned that Alcorn State road record. You got to put that asterisk with that because you remember 2 of those years they had more road SWAC games and home SWAC games because they had to pay all those games back during the COVID season.
You're right.
Because one year they only had 2 home SWAC contests. So
that is a great point.
Yeah, let's put that asterisk with that.
That is a great point. I will say this about Prairie View. They have been.
Oh, go ahead, Charles. Finish up.
Prairie View has been knocking on the door the past 2 years in terms of being in the SWAC championship. They've got to knock the door down this year, especially with the teams coming to Prairie View this year. I don't know.
Yes.
I'm breaking in a new quarterback, if I'm not mistaken, right, Mike?
Yes, that's correct.
I mean, it's got to get done this year, and coming to the Hill has to be a house of horrors for teams coming to play Prairie View this year. You've got to claim home field advantage. Everything is set, ready for you to handle. You got to take care of your business. You've got to figure out a way to get yourself back into the SWAC championship game and win it.
Yep. Agreed. Good point.
You know, I don't know if there's something about Prairie View Stadium that reminds me of like Dallas Cowboys. That is so large and such a comfortable stadium that other teams do not come in there with that awestruckness and feel very comfortable.
Yeah.
Prairie View has not really had the success of their home field advantage since they built the new stadium.
Yeah.
It's really nice, obviously, but maybe it's a little too nice for the home team. Maybe they need to go do what they do. What is it? Iowa State, I think, where they Iowa, where they paint the locker room pink. Maybe they
some. Yeah. You gotta make it not as friendly, not as comfy.
Something, don't feed them. I don't know what they do. Let's take this last break and come back on the other side. We'll give you some insight in terms of going into some of these practices. Stick with us as we get right back into it after this break.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
Hey, grab me one too.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember they can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft. Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more. But it's so absorbent, you can use less. So it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less? You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
Live from Atlanta, Georgia, the HBCU football capital hosts the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge on August 24th. Defending HBCU national champion Florida A&M Rattlers versus the Norfolk State Spartans. For more information, visit MEACSWACChallenge.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a loss, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBC Sports Lab. As we get in this next segment, I want to play a little video to get you into a little bit more of that football groove. If you would, AD Drew, let it rip. As he's doing that, Charles, give us a little insight of what's going to be played.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to kind of catch a little bit of Texas Southern's practice. Got an opportunity to talk to Chris Dishman. So, early days of practice, was out there today. Things got a little chippy first day in pass for Texas Southern. We got an opportunity to kind of take a little bit of a look at the Texas Southern Tigers.
Good stuff. Go ahead, Drew.
Wait a minute. There we go.
So the volume's not coming through, but I was asking Coach Dishman a little bit about the early days of camp and what he's seen thus far from the team. And then I asked him a little bit about position battles and in terms of what he was looking for with various positions. And he's very point blank, that basically no position is safe. He's looking at camp battles as a whole because everybody's going to be having to work for their position. He doesn't care if they started last year or started the previous year. So looking at it from the totality of that standpoint is very positive in terms of looking at this Texas Southern team early in camp. Like I said, I was out there a little bit today, caught a little bit of practice, first day in pass for Texas Southern. And the thing that he was stressing was how do they look in day 2, 3, 4 in pads, when they get into the mundane, into the processes of camp. And then it leads us into the first scrimmage this upcoming Saturday for Texas Southern. So those are some of the things that I kind of talked to him about in an interview.
And I apologize about
Appreciate
the
you getting that
audio not
information
coming
and
through
giving
when you
that
guys are
insight.
seeing.
No problem. We understand that's what happens with the technical process. But the important thing is we got the insight and what we wanted to do and give folks a little bit of video of what's going on there. But I wanted to ask a follow-up question to you, Charles, and then we'll go to Wilton and you as well, AD. What do you look for this time in this early practice from your experience as you go and cover these sports and you ask questions of your coaches? What kind of things do you look for in the questions that you're asking them based on your experience over the years, Charles?
Just kind of looking overall at the team, some of the disciplinary things that are kind of jump out, especially when they get in the team portions of the practice. When you start kind of taking a look, are they kind of mentally in tune? Are they focused? And that's some of the things early in camp that everybody focuses on. And then you start paying attention to the position battles. You pay attention to, for me, the offensive line, the defensive line. Are those guys, is there give and take, if you will, with regards to camp? So I think today, just kind of taking a look around, the defense was really flying around the ball. And I think more than anything with regards to Texas Southern, and this is kind of the sense that I get from the players, they're really excited with Chris Dishman being in place, and they're really flying around. But, as with, trying to set a mark on a team, he had them do down-ups, if you will, today, disciplinary issues. Things got a little bit of little chippy in practice today. They had to pause practice for a little while and go through that. So it's those little building blocks that you kind of see teams as they're sort of forming an identity, forming a culture that kind of catches my eye.
Wilton, you've been in this business for a while in terms of what that looks like with various practices at various levels in terms of your case, whether it's high school, college, or even pro. When you go in there as a media head, do you go in there with the assignment with particular things that you're going to look for that you want to get your readers or listeners in terms of what you're going to talk about? And from your perspective, what do you look at?
I mean, you absolutely do. And for me, I think more than anything, the first thing I look at is, are the players in shape? Sometimes you come into, these summer trainings. Yes, you've been working out and you've been working out with weights and things like that, in the months ahead. But like once you get outside in the heat in August, and a lot of these schools, obviously in the South, that plays a big role in what your conditioning looks like. So, looking at that, also something that Charles pointed out, the chemistry. Granted, you're having these practices during this time to build that chemistry, whether it's the quarterback room, whether it's the running backs, are players bonding with each other. Because sometimes, I've seen teams where obviously the teammates are teammates, but at the same time, you can literally see that there's no continuity there. Like, it's like, yeah, we're playing, we're on the field together, but you just don't see that bond all the time. And the good teams, in most cases, the ones that are always constantly winning and continuously being successful, they have that bond. And granted, a lot of those bonds aren't always made on the field. A lot of them made off the field.
In the locker room, yeah.
And so you think about those things, and then obviously just the fundamentals. So many times, how many times have you all seen where athletes get so to the fact of I can't wait to get on the field or this particular sport to do this, and that. Focus on the fundamentals, because believe it or not, a lot of times in games, what do games come down to? The fundamentals. And you got to
break down of them.
Exactly. You got to get them right now so that when you get in these moments where it's, I'm just throwing out something, 28-28, you have a field goal to win a game, but you don't know the exact, slide to do for special teams. And if you're not doing it correctly, you might be looking at a block kick that could have got you a game that could have helped you win the game in the fourth quarter as opposed to going to overtime.
Or the legal procedure penalty at the worst time.
That's a classic example.
Mm-hmm.
You gonna have everybody in the chat talking about that, boy. That drives you absolutely nuts. And imagine what it does to the coaches. Mm-hmm. Drew, you have an intriguing perspective because you were actually one of those coaches before as you transition on the media side. So you have the experience of being able to uniquely maybe relate and ask questions that may be slightly different than what other media people ask. So from your perspective, are you able to kind of draw in a reservoir from back when you were doing some coaching? And even though it's a different sport when you're covering football these days, how do you react when you're looking at coach asking questions of coaching going early into a season?
But number one, what type of routine do we have? Are we practicing at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning and our bodies are getting used to doing things 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, but all of our games on our schedule are at 6 or 7 o'clock at night? When do we make that transition from practicing at 5 o'clock in the morning to practicing closer to the time that we're actually going to be playing? Because it's an adjustment when you're used to doing stuff in the morning, but now you're not playing at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night, especially for those central time, those teams in central time zone when you travel east. Let me rephrase that. For those eastern teams, when you travel to central time zone, because you're losing another hour. So how are we making those type of adjustments with our practices and everything? That's number one. Number two, especially in this portal age, let's be real. You got 15, 20, 25 people who are on the team this year who aren't freshmen, who weren't there last year. And they are that coach without recruiting them for a reason. Now, somebody was supposed to be the incumbent at whatever position, but now you got this other person who's come in and basically came in and took somebody's position. Now, is there a bit of jealousy? Or is it that he the man that's coming in to take your position? So do I find another position? Do I go take somebody else's position? Now somebody else is mad. Do I accept a role as a backup? But accepting the role as a backup, and am I really that competitor that coach really wants? Because I should be fighting for my starting job. And those are the different things that you have to do. When you talk about chemistry, that's that deep part of that chemistry and everything. Because right now, nobody's on campus but y'all. For about the next week, the only people who are on campus are the football players and possibly the volleyball players starting to report. But that's it. So now is that time that if y'all haven't gotten that bond, if y'all haven't got that team chemistry now, when y'all start going to class next week or in 2 weeks or whenever schools start, you got homework, study hall, 5 o'clock weights, conditioning, individual drills, whatever, it's not gonna happen during that time. You got 2 weeks to start to get that bond, to get it going the right direction, or it's gonna roll downhill. And it's going to roll down here to the direction that you may not be able to stop. I don't care how good of a coach you are.
Let me get this quick one in, and this is basically yes or no. We have the luxury where we had over the last couple of seasons, so this was really recent, where you all had the ability to look at teams. Some of it see it directly, some of it indirectly, certainly had an ear to the street. Can you recall the moment of this early part of the season? Could you recognize that this was basically a championship level team, Charles? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Wilton? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. I don't want to stop you if you got a comment in it. Go ahead.
No, there were things that I saw with that Jackson State team very early in the process where I just knew from a speed standpoint they were different.
Okay. Wilton?
I think for me, the maturity that you see with certain players in certain programs, and to Charles' point, obviously being in Jackson, not even just with the Deion Sanders team, but I've seen quite a few Jackson State football teams prior to Deion Sanders, and it's not to say that they weren't well put together. However, there's no secret that Jackson State wasn't where it should have been prior to Deion Sanders. And believe it or not, the body language that you could see from the players in practice, if you ever went to a practice, especially somewhere in between like 2017, 2018, 2019, like it just was not the same. Not the same at all. And so believe it or not, that matters when you start talking about, are these teams championship caliber teams? You know how coaches say championship teams do all the right things at the right times even when people aren't watching. And you have to do that.
Drew? You just came off of seeing it. Did you see relatively early? You was like, yeah, there may be something here and there, but for the most part, yeah, this championship level team.
Yeah, with Florida A&M going back to last year, especially coming off the two disappointing seasons when the only team that beat us was Jackson State, essentially, and we knew we had to do what it needs to do to chase down Jackson State. And honestly, going back 2 years ago, we thought we had what we needed to challenge Jackson State, and then we had all the dysfunction on campus with all the certifications that we needed to go on. So we got all that stuff behind us. Last year, clean. We had pretty much a clean summer. Yeah, we had that one little blip right going into SWAC Media Day, but that was really a non-story. I felt as long as we stayed healthy, from what I saw, we were going to be the team to beat, which is where we were. I will say this year, with a new level of dysfunction at Florida A&M, and yes, I'm putting my orange glasses with the green rims on them right now as I'm saying this. With the new level of dysfunction that's going on at Florida A&M University this year, if FAMU were to win the SWAC this year and or the Celebration Bowl, this may be a bigger accomplishment than last year because of all that dysfunction that's going on in the highest of Seven Hills.
Good points by all of y'all. Thank you for sharing that. With that, we'll close it out. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab and the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Let these guys to come out there and they'll tell you whether they see a championship team or not. They've seen it. We'll see what that means as we get into it when we put them on the hot seat before the season starts and tell us who the champion is or not. And we'll see what level of confidence they have as well. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday. So we'll be back right here on Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. We look forward to Thursday as we discuss the latest news in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DrKenyattacavil. As Charles gets a little smug, I know it's a little more challenging this year than in the past to kind of talk about the championship. We still gonna put this man on the spot. Dream big, continue to move forward. We will talk with you. As we do that, remember we're working. So y'all send a nice little text or put in a message to tell Wilton to come down on his price point so we make sure that he has a spot and gets his own day. Man, it's too expensive right now. Man, he's like a high price agent. Man, you think you're Dak or something? What's going on?
Nah, I definitely don't want to be Dak. I can tell you that.
With that being said, let's close it out. We'll talk with you soon, Charles.
Of course.
Wilton, you got it right next time. Last time. Nice. Say it again for the people can hear you.
Lecture.
Nice. Drew?
Travel light, everybody. Dismissed.